During World War II, the United States and Britain churned out heavy bombers on an industrial scale. The Soviet Union, by contrast, focused on the fast-track production of smaller aircraft. During that era, this policy produced plenty of legendary Soviet warplanes. But in their shadow, one actual production heavy bomber often goes unnoticed. We're talking about the Pe-8. Work on the aircraft began in the mid-1930s, when Soviet leadership laid out requirements for a fast, high-altitude bomber capable of striking deep behind enemy lines. The task went to the Tupolev Design Bureau, where the project was designated ANT-42. Over several years, engineers had to master new technologies and consistently refine the bomber's design. One interesting feature of early versions was a fifth engine buried inside the fuselage, which drove a supercharger that supplied pressurized air to the main engines. This would have allowed the bomber to reach 12,000 meters, an altitude where it would have been nearly untouchable by anti-aircraft fire and interceptors of the era. But the system proved way too complex and unreliable, so it was eventually scrapped. Engines in general turned out to be a big source of headache for the team responsible for the project. The AM-34 engines that were supposed to go into the new bomber, as well as their successors, the AM-35A, were never produced in sufficient numbers. Attempts to replace them with M30 and M40 aircraft diesels led to accidents due to their chronic unreliability. Only after switching to M82 radial engines did the Pe-8 achieve an acceptable level of safety, though at the cost of its overall performance. Fewer than 100 Pe-8s were built, yet they saw heavy use during World War II. As early as August 1941, Pe-8 crews took part in raids on Berlin. They didn't do much damage, but the psychological and political impact of those raids was immense. The world received a clear signal. Despite German claims, Soviet aviation had not been destroyed and could even deliver a strike at the very heart of the Reich. Throughout the war, Pe-8s were used for a wide variety of missions. Beyond bombing rail junctions, fuel depots, and factories, they also delivered supplies, evacuated personnel, and carried out special operations. In the spring of 1942, it was on board a Pe-8 that Minister of Foreign Affairs Vyacheslav Molotov made an unprecedented and highly risky flight over occupied Europe to Britain, then across the Atlantic to Washington and back. Another distinctive feature of the Pe-8 was its ability to carry the Fab 5000, a 5-ton, super-heavy bomb. These massive weapons were used during the Königsberg Offensive, at the Battle of Kursk, and to destroy powerful fortifications throughout the war. After World War II, surviving Pe-8s remained in service. They were used as transports, hauling cargo to remote regions of Siberia and the Soviet Far East, as well as for Arctic research. But as more advanced bombers entered service, these highly decorated veterans were finally able to retire. Naturally, you can fly the Pe-8 in War Thunder, where it sits at rank 3 of the Soviet air tech tree. Let's be honest, nobody flies this thing for its exceptional flight performance. Its main selling point is the 5-ton bomb. Every tanker knows it well. A single well-dropped Fab 5000 can immediately flip the outcome of a battle in your team's favor. When a Pe-8 shows up, members of the enemy team immediately start warning each other, and enemy fighters make it their primary target. That makes your first run especially important. The Pe-8 spawns high above the battlefield, so SPAA crews might not even notice you at first. Save your bomb for a capture zone or a choke point crowded with enemies. Don't waste it on just a couple of vehicles or a single target. Your second run in the Pe-8 becomes considerably more dangerous. A slow, laborious climb to altitude leaves you vulnerable to enemy fighters. And if you try to approach low, you risk becoming easy pickings for enemy AA. The Pe-8 also has its uses in air battles. Its hefty bomb load lets you destroy multiple enemy bases or airfields in a single run. That said, the bomber's relatively low speed means that you'll be visited by lots of enemy aircraft. However, unlike most bombers at its battle rating, the Pe-8 can give an overconfident fighter pilot a nasty surprise, as its defensive turrets carry 20mm cannons. To maximize your effectiveness against bases, tinker with your bomb series options before the fight. At BR 4.7 or below, use 8 100kg bombs per drop. At 5.0 and above, go with 12. Also, open your bomb bay early, so you could drop bombs from your external hardpoints and internal storage at the same time. When it first entered service, the Pe-8 was one of the Soviet Union's finest bombers. In War Thunder, it remains one of the very few aircraft that can single-handedly swing a battle. Do you enjoy using this legendary bomber? Let us know in the comments down below.